Hello, hello! Welcome to ClubChrisette. I'm your host, Chrisette, and today we are going to be starting a game called Cursed Sight. So this is a game made by the same company who make the Within Without games, and I don't really know much else about it. I got it in a bundle from fanatical.com, and that's pretty much it. I didn't look into the description or anything, but I don't know. I'm interested. The screenshots looked good, so I'm excited to start it with you guys. Without further ado, let's jump into Cursed Sight. Growing up poor, I had always watched with envy whenever kids in my neighborhood rode past on rickshaws. Today, I finally got my chance. I just wish the circumstances were a little different. The rickshaw clattered along the gravel, giving me a headache. Of course, the driver had to make things worse with his off-tune humming. This place might be called Melody Way, but that gave him no right to offend the very essence of music. "We're almost there," the driver said without turning to face me. Eyes on the road, as they said. I would admire his professionalism, except he kept lowering the rickshaw for a breather. The driver in my hometown could beat this guy in a race with one arm, and that was a thing of the past now. East Area was my new home, or prison more like. Mom and Dad, thank you for selling me to the temple. We love you more than anything in the world. Anything except for coins, it turned out. I bet they were spending that money for a holiday. As the rickshaw drove along, I passed stall keepers shouting discount offers for their fruits and veggies. When one of the shopkeepers had his eyes turned, a couple of kids stole some apples from his basket. Such a thing would never happen back in the West Area. Bells hung around the houses on Melody Way, jingling under the breeze. This must be why people call East Area the City of Bells. The bells did sound soothing, at least for now. Give it a week and I would probably want to impale my eardrums with a toothpick. The rickshaw slowed as we approached a building ahead. Its size dwarfed that of any other structure on Melody Way. This must be the Eastarian Temple. Eastaria's symbol patterned the window frames as if to banish my Western origins. The driver put down his rickshaw. "That'll be several gold coins." I pulled out my purse Mom had given me for this ride. She left me with 5 coins? And silver ones. No less. Love you too, Mom. I avoided the driver's gaze as I showed him my purse. "Should've known better than to trust Westarians," the driver grumbled. "Kid, I'm taking you to the guards." The driver was right about me being a kid, but then he should be an adult and let things pass. Instead, he grabbed my wrist and tried to yank me off the rickshaw. I wriggled my hand to try and break free, but to him, I probably felt as strong as a dieting cat. If the guards locked me up, I doubted my parents would bail me out. I heard executions were legal in East Area. The thought made my legs go numb. I met the driver's grimace with one of my own. "King Luck has business with me. If you want your coins, go talk to him." The driver let go of me, and it was now his turn to dodge my gaze. If he had troubled the king over such a trivial matter, the temple might take his head as compensation. The driver snatched away my coins as well as the purse. He pushed me off the rickshaw, mumbled a few curses, and drove away. I brushed the dust off my pants in an attempt to look cool, but in truth, sweat had stained my palms despite the cold weather. I turned to face the road that I had just passed. Despite all of this being my parents' fault, I still yearned to see them running after me, telling me how sorry they felt. They were, of course, nowhere in sight. I slapped my cheeks to snap out of it. Your new life started here, guy. I waded up to the temple doors, almost slipping on a rotten leaf on my way there. 2 guards stood bearing at the temple's entrance. Their 6-foot stature allowed them to fit inside those heavy armor. The Easteria symbol on their shoulder plates reminded me that they had hailed from an unfamiliar culture. I swore the ground shook as one of the guards took a step toward me. The sphere in his hand made me tremble. Those capes the guards wore fluttered in the wind, but these guys looked more like villains than heroes to me.
Go beg somewhere else, boy.
The guard shooed me off like a fly. A chance to explain myself would have been nice. I lifted my chin at the opportunity to show him. King Locke invited me from West Terraria to serve in his temple, I said.
Right, a new slave then. Name?
Sure, apology accepted, jerk. Guy. The other guard chimed in.
Ah, yes, the king told us you were arriving. He's assigned you to help with looking after Mion.
He exchanged chuckles with his colleague.
Sure sucks to be you, kid. In you go.
I waited to see if the guards would escort me. One of them dozed off on his feet, an ability he must have picked up during his years of service. The other guard filed his nails with his spear, just as a blacksmith had intended, no doubt. I stomped past him in an attempt to look tough, but I had stepped too hard and rolled my ankle. As I limped past the front gates, I feared the guards might close them and squash me into a meat pie. I strode through the garden before doing a full lap around the courtyard. With several dozen doors around, I dared not enter a single one. I ducked under some of the lit windows in case anyone inside mistook me for a thief. And with my head surveying back and forth, I soon bumped into a guard and fell on my backside. The guard, still as a castle wall, tapped his spear against my chin.
You picked the wrong place to rob, but I'm feeling generous, so go crawl back in your hole before I change my mind.
I no longer had a home, or hole, or whatever insult this scum wanted to hurl my way. He should just pierce my throat with that spear and be done with it. Guy. New servant. The guard clicked his tongue but lowered his spear nonetheless.
Follow me.
At least he had ever so wonderful a heart to offer me guidance. I climbed back onto my feet and trailed him along the corridor, keeping a distance in case he decided my attitude warranted a spanking. The guard led me to a dressing room filled with suits and dresses that might be worth more than a house. A set of crumpled clothes sat on the carpet, looking completely out of place. Smeared with dirt, they could easily pass as towels used to wipe the wooden floors. The guard snatched these rags off the carpet and shoved them into my arms.
Go get changed and hurry up about it. You're already late.
To be fair, I never expected to receive one of those expensive suits. I had that rickshaw driver to thank for my lateness. No point in explaining myself now, though. I shuffled into a change room in the corner and slid the curtain closed. After stripping off my clothes, I checked out these garments the guard had handed me. The standard Easterian red from top to bottom with Easterian symbols stitched behind the shirt. Suddenly, the curtain slid open, and I blushed to see a girl standing outside. Aside from my mother, not once had anyone of the opposite gender seen me in the nude. This girl's clothes matched the ones that I carried in my arms, so she must be a servant too. Those oversized pants she wore made her look about as feminine as a water barrel. Her pigtails could have looked cute, but those flies circling around her unwashed hair ruined that look. The girl's gaze lowered toward my pants, or where they would have been if I had a pair on. She let out a sigh and walked out as if I somehow disappointed her. Was I not the victim here? I yanked the curtain back closed. The force ripped the curtain off one of its hinges. I poked my head out to see if the guard had noticed. Good thing he had his head turned, snipping at a skirt on one of the coat hangers. What? Good thing he had his head turned, sniffing at a skirt on one of the coat hangers. Sounds gross. I quickly slipped on my shirt and pants to avoid another intimate encounter. The shirt's sleeves almost reached my fingertips, so I rolled them up and made my wrists look like spring rolls. I had mocked that girl's oversized pants earlier. Well, karma must be real, because they look even bigger on me. I look like I had balloons crammed inside my pants. A pair of shoes dropped in from under the curtains. I guess the guard had forgotten about them earlier. Those shoes had bells tied on the front to couple each of my steps with a jingle. I put on my shoes, and with the single step I took to exit the dressing room, the left one came off. Cursing under my breath, I thrust my foot back into the shoe before trying to walk again. This time, I dragged my shoes along the carpet to stop them from sliding off. The heels still kept popping out, but it would have to do. I returned to the guard, who hurled away the skirt he had been sniffing. He glared at me as if it was my fault he failed to keep his fetishes behind closed doors. The guard swirled around and stomped out of the dressing room. I assumed I was meant to follow him, so I did just that. The guard muttered complaints all the way to the end of the corridor. I stood before a set of doors embroidered in gold. The East Taria symbol sat in the middle, glittering under the sunlight. Whoever resided behind these doors must be mighty important, so that ruled out any chance of this being my bedroom. The guard pointed at the door.
This is Mion's room. Get in there and introduce yourself.
Before I could ask any questions, the guard had trotted off with the shutter. This Mion character scared even a grown man. And now I must step in alone? Remind me to never send my mom or dad any postcards. I looked down at my East Tarian garbs. It was as if I snuck out of the temple now. I could fit into the crowd, but with no way of earning a coin. I would be forced to steal food like those children I saw earlier. I reached for the doors with my hands trembling. Just as I was about to knock, I heard muffled yells coming from the other end. Something or someone banged against the doors from inside, making me dart back. Was Mion inside that room right now? I foresaw meeting an 8-foot mammoth that dined on servants' limbs as a pastime. After whispering farewell to my arms and legs, I slid the door open. 3 bodies rolled out and crashed into my shins, making me stumble. The bodies untangled just enough for me to see a middle-aged woman with 2 guards wrestling to keep her under control. Upon spotting a knife in the woman's hand, I crawled away until my back hit the wall. The woman struggled to break free from the guard's grip. "Give me back my boy, you monster!" I followed the woman's eyes to see who she was addressing. A girl sat on her knees in the middle of the room. She had both hands resting on her lap as if she was unaware of the chaos unfolding before her. She wore a hat that came attached with the veil, but she was still able to see what was going on. The girl sat on the carpet with the East Tarian symbol that almost covered the entire room. Considering the doors outside looked so fancy, this room was so much smaller than I had anticipated. On the far end was a veranda with railings that reminded me of prison bars. Cabinets filled with walls on either side of the room. Their circular handles resembled eyes spying in from another dimension. The guards lifted the knife-wielding woman onto her feet.
Mion is East Tarian's treasure. By the king's orders, you're under arrest.
The woman thrashed and screamed as the guards hauled her away. So this girl must be Mion. Judging from her height, she must be no older than 10. Around my age, in other words. Why should I be so scared of some kid? I had no idea if Mion was looking at me thanks to that veil covering her face. As I edged toward her room, smoke came out of nowhere to sting my eyes. I gazed down and spotted incense burning in front of Mion's knees. Waving the smoke off my face, I stepped through the doors. The bells on Mion's hat clanged as she looked up. She also had a large bell tied around her neck like a collar of a pet. Mion tilted her head, perhaps startled by my unfamiliar face. That guard did order me to introduce myself, so I might as well. The name's Guy. Mion slumped onto the floor. Did she fall unconscious from the shock earlier? Talk about a delayed reaction. I worried for Mion's well-being, but more important, I feared for mine. If the guards had thought I'd harmed her in any way, I'd had a good run. Mion opened her mouth and spoke for me for the first time. Blankets. Third cabinet to the left. Oh, what, did my introduction suck so much that she would rather go to sleep? Shaking my head, I walked to the third cabinet on the left. I pulled the door open and indeed found a blanket tucked inside. Even the blanket had golden patterns running along its edges. What a spoiled brat. After flicking a worm crawling on top, I pulled the blanket and threw it over Mion, covering her from head to toe. Cannot breathe, came her muffled voice. Yeah. I lowered the blanket down around her neck. Her breathing seemed steady, but with that veil on, I had no way of knowing if she had fallen asleep. Hey, Mion, I whispered as a test, but received no response. Stupid, fat, ugly Mion. Still nothing. She sure fell asleep fast, considering someone tried to stab her only moments ago. As I exited the room, Mion's voice came trailing after me. Never speak to me in that way again. Oh crap, she did hear me. I stepped out and shut the doors behind me. That knife-wielding lady from earlier had disappeared from view, replaced by a trio of servants sweeping the corridor. All three of them swung their brooms in sync, as if they had no consciousness of their own. After I had introduced myself to the servants, they shared with me their daily joys of being a slave, testing food for poison, battling venomous spiders, you name it. Watch out, world, for my future shone as brightly as the sun on a stormy night. Born with the cursed sight, the treasure of a nation. That entrance was pretty cool. Okay, so that was just like the first little bit of the game so far. Alrighty. We'll continue a little bit more and try to find a stopping point, because I would like to know what you guys think of the game so far, and I know that entrance was kind of slow. It was very descriptive. But I feel like it's going to pick up now that we're past that, though. Night came, and a servant escorted me into a storage room crammed with sleeping servants, as well as crawling bugs. Stacked against the walls were boxes that piled up to the ceiling. I prayed they were empty. Likewise, if these boxes collapsed, the temple guards would have servant pancakes for breakfast. The place reeked of dust as well as sweat. I bet half of these servants never even bothered to shower before hitting the sack. I don't even think they had the option to bathe. So, which bed is mine? I asked the servant who had led me here. Any of them. Yeah, should have known. A bedsheet near me appeared as unused, but just as I had reached for it, another servant swooped in and snatched it from my hands. What? Did you write your name on it? I asked, gritting my teeth to refrain from punching him. With a scowl, the servant pointed at a wet patch on the bedsheet. Did this guy pee on it as a marking? Oh, okay. My bad, then. These bed sheets were so thin that they might as not be there at all anyway. But everybody had one, so I felt uneasy being the odd one out. I spotted another unused bed in the corner. This time, I dove at it to ensure no one would beat me to my prize. Maybe I should pee or spit on it as well, just to be safe. I crawled into the bed sheet, and before I could even close my eyes, a pair of mosquitoes buzzed around my ear. Shaking my head, I rolled to one side and covered my ear with the bed sheet. It muffled the buzzing somewhat, I suppose. After shutting my eyes, fatigue took over and I collapsed into sleep, which meant the mosquitoes scored themselves a real feast. Approaching footsteps caused the wooden floor to creak. A hand gripped my shoulder and nudged me awake. I opened my eyes and found a servant with his face far too close to mine for my liking. "Hey, go sweep the king's throne room," he said. "Cool. Good morning to you, too." "But I checked the schedule last night. I'm supposed to help prepare breakfast," I said. "Well, the schedule just changed. I'll prepare breakfast in your stead." The servant dropped the broom in my hands. I bet he just wanted to steer clear of the king and decided to pick on the new guy. If he had thought that I'd be pushed over easily, well, he might be right, because I got up to do as ordered. Best to avoid trouble until I knew my way around. Speaking of which, where is the king's throne room anyway? The servant rolled his eyes and pointed at a set of doors at the end of the hallway. "By the way, there's a trial going on, so no need to knock. Just do your job and keep out of sight." I bumped shoulders with the servant on my way out of the storage room. A thank you would have been nice, but I have better luck waiting for the sky to rain gold coins. Everyone in this game seems so unpleasant so far. And we haven't even seen images of anyone. We've only seen, except Mion, my own. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing her name. As I stalked toward the throne room, I scratched my swollen arms and neck. Those mosquitoes really showed no mercy last night. These bites between my fingers made me want to light the storage room on fire. Oh God, I'd want to do the same. I arrived outside the king's chamber. The pair of doors looked bigger than the ones Mion had. Did that mean the king was even weirder than Mion? If so, I might be better off turning into a mosquito food back in that storage room. The doors groaned as I pulled them open, destroying any hope I had being discreet. After taking a deep breath, I walked in. And there he was, at the end of the room, the king of East Taria. He sat behind a curtain that stretched from wall to wall, but his silhouette alone made my legs quiver. Stone pillars formed a line evenly on either side, holding the ceiling in place. Paintings of men and women with crowns hung on these pillars. They must be kings and queens from past generations. The knife-wielding lady from yesterday stood on a red carpet before the king. A couple of guards blocked the path behind her. One of them kicked the back of her knee, forcing her to kneel in front of the king. I spotted bruises on the woman's arm, and her gray locks looked more roughed up than yesterday, too. The guards must have abused her before the trial even began. One of the guards glanced toward me as if he had read my thoughts. My heart thudded as I carried on with brooming the floor. Pay me no mind, folks, I just work here.
"King, look, here's the woman who assaulted Mion,"
one of the guards said. The woman bowed until her forehead touched the carpet. "Mion's cursed my boy to his death. I only ask for justice."
"Mion's power is common knowledge among our nation," Loke said. "Your son knowingly flipped her veil open."
Does this have to do with her cursed sight? Like, if she looks at she's like Medusa, kind of. Instead of turning people to stone, she just instantly kills people when she looks at them. He said Mion's power was common knowledge, but I, for one, knew nothing about it. Did that woman's kid die from gazing into Mion's eyes? The mother began to sob. My boy was only 8. Of course he'd be curious. We should have that monster blindfolded or blinded altogether. Luke drummed his fingers across his armrest. Foolishness. Cover Mion's eyes, and we have sealed her powers away as well. She's more valuable to the nation than all of you ants put together. Ooh. Even the guards traded frown upon hearing those words. These guards had been treating me like a sewage rat, and now the king just cast them into my category. Welcome to the sewers, folks. Hope you like the smell.
Send this woman to the guillotine, the king said. She shall serve as an example to our nation.
With brows still arched, the guards lifted the woman by her armpits as they dragged her away. I thought she would beg for mercy, but all she did was smile. There's no need to feel alone, sweetie. Mommy's coming to you soon. That kind of breaks my heart, actually. Oh my god. As I left the room, I squeezed the broom's handle to stop my hands from shaking. East Terraria meant business when it came to their treasure. Yesterday I threw a blanket over Mion's face and called her names. If she had reported it, I might have been killed. Oh my god, Doc, I might have developed a case of myonophobia. From now on, I must keep a distance from her at all times. Maybe I should get a fishing rod to hand her things from afar. Tears welled in my eyes as the faces of my parents surfaced in my mind. I wiped the sleeve across my eyelids. No way I would miss the 2 people who had sold me here. I did, however, worry for my baby sister. She played no part in any of this. I wonder what my parents would tell her when she grew up. They might say I died in an accident or simply claim I never existed. The thought made me tear up again. I clenched my fist to rinse my sadness with anger. My mind seemed to be all over the place this morning. I blamed it on my lack of sleep. Maybe I should go hide in a change room and sneak in a quick nap. I heard bells ringing in the main hall, a series of jingles strung together to produce a soothing melody. Curiosity won me over. I headed to the hall to take a peek. A woman dancing alone on the stage. She had dozens of bells tied around her arms, and as she twirled, the bells produced music that echoed across the room. My parents had once told me about these performers. Bellstresses, I believe they were called. East Terraria's symbol occupied the back of the wall, particularly obscured by a pair of red pillars. Plotted plants formed a circle around the stage and exuded a fragrance that enveloped the hall. Several other servants slacked off from their duties to watch the performance, but most of them had paid this bellstress no attention, so I guess she must be a regular here. A group of 10 people watched this performance from the front row. The men wore suits ironed many times over, while the woman donned earrings almost as big as her head. They must be the bellstress's real audience. Once the bellstress finished her act, she bowed at the applauding crowd. A guard then walked in to greet the guest. He was all smiles as he escorted them off to another area of the temple. These rich folks probably gave the guards tips on their way out. I could think of no other explanation for his friendliness. Heck, if I had coins to spare, I would make the guards play fetch, lick my shoes, and call me Master Guy. As the bellstress stepped down from the stage, I heard footsteps running toward me. Even without turning to look, the ringing of the bells told me it was Mion. She ran pretty fast for someone who was too lazy to take out her own blanket. Mion dove into the bellstress's arms, almost bowling her over. Sissa! Sissa! Having heard about Mion's cursed sight, I would have screamed if she clung that close to me. Either this Sasa lady knew nothing about the curse, or she was feeling really lucky. Mion, smile when you say hi, remember? Sasa reached under Mion's veil to pinch her cheeks and curled them into a smile. How do you even say this word? Kanukomtonite. Mion slurred. Sasa let go of her cheek so she spoke properly. Can you come tonight, please? Sasa patted Mion's hat. Just for a bit, okay? Mion added frantically, making the bells on her hat chime in protest. After giving Sasa a hug, Mion retreated back to her room. As Sasa spun to leave, our eyes met for a moment. The shimmering stage lights made her hair and skin glisten. Sasa beamed at me, and my cheeks flushed as I averted my gaze. Girls really have annoyed me sometimes, to be honest. Alrighty, everybody. I think that's what we're going to call it for now. I'm actually liking this so far. Like I said, the beginning was slow, but it's now picking up. We're getting introduced to characters. We're learning a little bit about, like, Easteria, how apparently the daughter has cursed sight of sorts. That, I mean, obviously that's what the name of the game is, but, like, it has to do with some sort of powers that she has. And the Sasa lady, this Belstress, man, I'd like to learn more about her. Like, her design is beautiful, but she just seems interesting. Like, she, I guess, is like this motherly figure to Mion. That's the only thing I can think of. But alrighty, everybody, I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas in the comments down below. And until next time, you all have a lovely day. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!